All right, so we're talking about quadratics, and we're going to do a quick review before we talk about it. You can write it up here or on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, again, we're doing the 2.9 task for those that just came in, but we're going to do a quick review first. So here's the quick review. We've seen a quadratic function, the U-shaped ones, in three forms. The first form is the standard form, and that is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, and it's the one where we combine all the pieces of the quilt and just get one equation for it. And what we know about this, in fact, for all of these, if a is greater than 0, they open up. So if it's positive, if a is less than 0, it opens down. And a also tells you how skinny and fat it is. Okay, the other thing we know about this one is c is the y-intercept. So that if we had a graph, okay, maybe it looks like this. This is the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so again, just a little review. I don't know why it won't go yellow there. All right, the next form we learned about was vertex. We found out if we completed the square, we could get y equals a x minus h squared plus k. And again, the a tells us this stuff, plus if it's a stretch or a shrink. This told us how much it went left and right, and this told us how much it went up and down from the original parent graph. Okay, and as a matter of fact, the vertex is at the point h, k, so right here, the vertex, the pointy part of your U-shape. And then we found we could factor, and we had two forms of factoring. One, when we figured out what multiplies to make this and adds to make this, or the harder one where we had to multiply these two first and then split the middle term, which you all need to finish that homework. That's important, and we're coming up on the test. So make sure you practice the homework for 2.8, okay? And what we have there, we call it intercept form or factored form. Okay, and this was the one, again, that told us the width of our quilts, and it looks something like this. A times x minus p, x minus q. Again, this a tells us the same stuff as the other a's. Okay, and what we found out was that the p0, and q0 are the x-intercepts, where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, and so that's the one we're going to practice today. I did show you that in the review last time, and I've showed you that a couple of other times, but we're going to really practice that today. So any questions before I move on? All right. So it says graph each function and find the vertex, the y-intercept, and the x-intercepts. Be sure to properly write the intercepts as a point. So first off, let's go through and just make some axes. There's our y-axis and our x-axis. And the next thing I'm going to do is write y equals a, x minus p, x minus q on the top, because that is my vertex form. And I want to identify a, p, and q. So a, p, and q. All right, in this case, the a is whatever's in front of the parentheses and there's nothing. So the a is an invisible 1. The p, notice it's x minus. So the p is a positive 1, the opposite of what's in parentheses. And the q is a negative 3, again, the opposite of what's in parentheses. So we have a 1 and a negative 3. So if we were going to do steps, and I'll show you steps on the bottom, the first step would be to find A, P, and Q. The next step would be to plot the points. So we're going to plot the x-intercepts of 1, 0, and negative 3, 0 at 1, and negative 1, 2, oops, that's negative 3. okay? Now we want the line of symmetry. The line of symmetry is the middle. It's the halfway point. So what's halfway between these two? Right here. Notice that is the value of -1. It's halfway between P and Q, between the x-intercepts. Now my vertex, I know my vertex is going to fall on this line somewhere. Maybe it'll be down here. Maybe it'll be here. Maybe it'll be here. Okay, and I'm assuming they all open up. Can somebody tell me why I'm assuming it opens up? Remember, it's the A value that tells us.
It opens back up because it's a positive?
Yeah, the A is positive. Thank you for letting me pick on you a little bit for that. Yeah, because guys, our A is positive. If our A is negative, it would face down like a frowny face. But A is positive, so it opens up. Okay, and how do I find my vertex? My vertex, I'm going to plug in x equals -1 because I know it's on this line somewhere. I just don't know how far up and down. So I'd say, here's my formula. Everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put a -1. Okay, and you can put that directly into your calculator. You could just do this in your head. -1 minus -1 is -2. -1 plus 3 is 2, and -2 times 2 is -4. But it's so easy to make a mistake like that. I hope you guys do -1, okay, minus, why is this so slow? I apologize, 1 times -1 plus 3, okay? Please use your calculators for things. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Okay, so I won't show you that again because it's so slow, but I want to show you because this is where kids make mistakes. So that means our vertex then is at -1, -4. Okay, when x went in, -4 came out. Chickens in, nuggets out. So we're at -1, -4, and that makes sense because it's supposed to open up. We also know since A is 1, that it'll go over 1, up 1, and we automatically know our y-intercept. So we know our graph is going to look like this. I know that my y-intercept, just from what I know about graphs, is going to be over 0, up, or sorry, down 3. But if I didn't know that, I could get it by plugging in when x is 0. 0 minus 1 times 0 plus 3 would give you a -3. So that's how we graph these, okay? If we multiplied these back together, it would turn into standard form, okay? That's that. I'm going to have you guys start this one. I want to know the A, B, and C. Actually, sorry, not A, B, and C. In this case, it has A, P, and Q, right? Y equals A, X minus P, X minus Q. And then go and graph those because that'll tell you where your x-intercepts are. So you should be able to find your x-intercepts using P and Q, and then see if you can find your axis of symmetry. So I'm going to give you guys a second, and while you do that, I'm going to write the steps. So step number 1, find A, P, and Q. You're going to want these on your notes because this will help you. Okay. Step number 2, plot the x-intercepts. Step number 3, find the axis of symmetry. Step number 4, plug in the axis of symmetry to get the other part of the vertex. And then step number 5, plug in x equals 0 to get the y-intercept. So see how many of these you can do? At least get to step 3 with this. Okay, guys, let's go over it. So I am going to ask 4 people for the basic intro questions. I just randomly picked you. Okay, so here we go. Cambria, what is my A?
Would it be 2?
Yeah, 2, because it lines up. Yep. All right. Angelus, what is my P?
Is it 2?
It is. It's positive 2, and I love how she said positive 2, not negative 2. All right. Kagan, what is my Q? Or Caden, excuse me. What is my Q? Right? A, P. What's my Q then?
6.
There you go. 6. Perfect. Thank you. All right. And so then Alex K. Well, let me see, guys. So then my x-intercepts would be 2 and 6. So we go to positive 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Now, what would my axis of symmetry be, Alex K?
Would it be positive 4?
Yeah, halfway in between, positive 4. Now, if you didn't know that, you could use this formula, and the formula is, okay, x equals p plus q divided by 2. It finds you halfway between. Well, p is 2, plus 6 is q, divided by 2. 2 plus 6 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. You don't ever have to use that if you can see the halfway between part, but there you go. All right. Does anybody want to volunteer for me then how I find my vertex? Now, I will tell you since we're online, right? It says plug in the axis of symmetry. So we're going to write our equation, but everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put in 4. So again, here's my 2, here's my 6, right? That's where that came from. And then I'm putting in, everywhere there was an x, I'm putting in a 4. And if I do that, let's see, that's 2 times 2 times negative 2, which would give me negative 8. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So my vertex then is 4, negative 8. And I already could graph it because now since this is a 2, I know that this is going to go over 1, up 2 instead of up 1. And then it goes over 1 and up 4. 1, 2, 3. It like keeps going.
Oh, God.
But here's how we do that. You just plug in 0. 2 times 0.
Science.
If your mic is on, turn it off. And 0 minus 6. That gives you 2 times negative 2 times negative 6, which would give you a positive 24. It just means that it would cross all the way up here somewhere. Okay, and so it would be 0, 24. And there is our picture. Okay, so it's these 5 steps. Not too bad. All right, one more for you. So for this one, it's different. Again, step 1, let's write our equation on it. Y equals A, x minus P, x minus Q. And notice that it's funky looking. Well, we could rewrite this as negative x minus 0 x plus 4 because notice there's nothing next to the x, so we could just say that is a 0. And now if we listed it, our A is a negative 1 because it's this thing right here. Our P is a 0. It just means one of our intercepts is going to be 0. And our q is a -4, opposite of what's in parentheses. So I automatically know that my x-intercepts are 0, 0, and -4, 0. So I could draw that in. Okay. So then I'm going to graph my intercepts at 0, 0, and -1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Okay. Now my line of symmetry is halfway in between those two. So right here, this is where this thing folds in half. So x equals -2. That x tells you that it's a line, which means my vertex is -2 something. So I'm going to plug -2 into my equation, and I can plug it into my new equation or my old equation. So I have a negative, parenthesis -2, because that's the first x, parenthesis -2 plus 4, which would give me, let's see, negative times a negative. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I apologize. Is +2. -2 plus 4. Oh, goodness gracious. -2 plus 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And let's see if that makes sense. I'm over 2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4. It does, because I know it has to face down because of this negative right here. And then lastly, the y-intercept, that's when x is 0. But notice right now, when x is 0, y is 0. It crosses. They're the same. So my y-intercept is 0, 0, and I am done. And then again, since this is a 1, it's over 1, down 1. And there's my graph. Any questions on that? All right, last but not least, based on these examples, how can you use a quadratic function to do this? Find the line of symmetry. Well, that is halfway between P and Q, the x-intercepts. And if we have to, we could use the formula P plus Q divided by 2, but I don't suggest it unless you can't see the halfway. Okay, we know that the vertex is, I'm going to plug in the axis of symmetry to solve for y. So it's going to be P plus Q divided by 2, comma f of P plus Q divided by 2. It just means find the axis of symmetry and then plug it in. Find the x-intercepts. Well, that's easy. They are the P and the Q. That's why we call it intercept form or factored form. Find the y-intercept. Plug in x equals 0 and solve for y. And then the vertical stretch is the a value. Look at a. Okay. If the absolute value of a is greater than 0, it's going to be skinny. It's going to get stretched. If its absolute value of a is between 0 and 1, it's going to get fat if it's a fraction. All right, so I'm going to show you guys your homework as soon as you get this written down, just because I think it'll help you. All right, so this first part, remember the readies are always review. This is normally where we'd put this on the top part of notes for our pink page. Instead, put this on the back of 2.9 or something like that. I'm going to write it down. You could do it with your numbers if you took the time to pull it up. We're multiplying -1x plus 9 times -7x minus 12. And they use a box to help organize it. That's the only difference from what we've done before. And I'm going to show you this in just a second. All right, so that's what we have. We've learned to do this before, where we did the little rainbows. We did -1 times 7 was 7, and x times x is x squared. What they're going to do is have you do the same thing. They're going to say multiply these two, and you get 7x squared. They're just using a box to help you figure it out. The next one, -1 times -12 that's positive 12x. So negative 1x times negative 12, positive 12x. Then we have 9 times 7. Okay, that's negative 63x. Again, you don't have to write this side if you're using the box. And then lastly, 9 times negative 12, which is negative 108. So this is what we've done before, but without the box. And then what we did before was we combined like terms. We looked at the middle two and said, look, they're both x's. So my answer is 7x squared. 12 plus negative 63 is negative 51x minus 108. You get the same answer from looking at the box and just adding those two. So the box is just a better way or a different way to organize it. And so if you look back at the homework, that's what they want. They want you to tell them it is frozen. There we go. What's in each part of the box? And then they want you to write the answer. So that's how you do the first few questions. Okay, let's see if I can slide down and show you one of the last ones. All right, so I wanted to show you a couple of the graphing ones. This one, it says graph 3 times x minus 5, x minus 3. And so it's in factored form or intercept form. So we already know the x-intercepts are 5 and positive 3 because that's P and Q. And look how they write it. 5, comma, 0, parenthesis, comma, space. They like write it out, so be careful. And then you would know that you're going to cross at 5 and 3. So you're at 3, you're at 5. What's halfway in between those two? 4. So that's where my axis of symmetry is going to be at 4. So then you'd say, oh, look, so here I am. Y equals 3, x minus 5, x minus 3. I know it's going to cross at 1, 2, 3, and 5. And my axis of symmetry is halfway. So you're going to want to write this down, and you need to have it on a piece of paper in your binder, okay? And we're going to plug in the axis of symmetry. So everywhere there's an x, we'll put in a 4. And then use our calculator, and it will spit out -3. So I know I'm going to go over 4 and down 1, 2, 3. And that's my vertex. And I can already see what it's going to look like. Okay. Let's go back here. Now it also wants the y-intercept. So you will have to plug in 0 in for the y-intercept. 3 times 0 minus 5 times 0 minus 3. And you'd get 45. It is so steep, it's not going to cross till way up here. But let me show you how to graph it. Some of it's a little easier. Start with this little circle. Start at the center. You know the center is at -4 or +4, -3. Okay. You also know, because this is a 3, that it's going to go over 1, up 3. So you're over 1, super frozen, up, over 1, up 1, 2, 3. Oh, look, that's where it's supposed to cross, and there's our graph. And then you can see our y-intercept is all the way up here. So sometimes you can get the x-intercepts and stuff just from the graph. And then lastly, I want to show you, let's see if they have it. I apologize. Oh, see, this is vertex form. So don't forget vertex form, right? This one, it crosses at +5, down 3, or the original graph, move to the right 5 and down 3. So we're to the right 5 and down 3. Now you can write this on a piece of paper, but there's my point, and then I know it's going to be over 1, up 3, because of this 3 right here.